Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Welcome to our Thursday devotion. We are often confronted today by people who have an amazingly inflated opinion of who they are and of their importance in our society and in our world. I was walking through the aisles of Builders Express looking for a rechargeable globe, because we can all do with a little more light in our lives. And there was this young boy, and he was skipping along, that's the word, skipping along next to his dad, looking up at his dad and asking him about the guy that they had just greeted. And Dad, he stuck out his hand and he shook his hand, and he said a few words, but what's the story? And the father, ever patient, taking one step to like 10 of his kids, looked down at him, looked at him in the eye, and tried to explain to him the social norm that we have almost unlearned during these last few years of COVID. The social norm of looking someone in the eye, sticking your hand out and shaking hands and expressing concern or inquiring after the other person's health. In Exodus, we read this week of a Pharaoh who comes to power who doesn't remember Joseph. He doesn't remember the stories that Joseph had saved the entire Egyptian population from starvation all those hundreds of years before. He doesn't know his history, and so he actually probably doesn't even know himself. And he wants to then oppress the Jewish people. Moses' mother hides him in a basket, and he's in the bulrushes, and he gets rescued, we know, by the Pharaoh's daughter. And that image, as she lifts him out of that basket and holds him up and realizes that he is a young Jewish boy. But that image is almost of an Old Testament Jesus, a Messiah, coming to save the Israeli people. And then in Matthew chapter 16, Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do the people say I am?" He doesn't say, "Who am I?" Do you know who I am? He is so confident in who he is. He is so confident in his power. He knows. But when he asked the disciples, "Who do the people say that I am?" they come with stories because they're not sure either. So they say, "You might be one of the Old Testament prophets," they say. "You could be Elijah, Elisha." Jesus asked them then, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter, that big bumbling fisherman, you can just see him, can't you? But he just says, he's also like jumping up, and he knows the answer because it's been laid on his heart by God. And he says, "You are the one true Christ. You are the Messiah." And Jesus affirms to him that he wouldn't have known that by himself, that it was only God who had told it to him. Because, of course, most of the Jewish people of the time were looking for a Messiah who would have been a mighty military man, a mighty warrior, someone who was going to trample down the Roman oppressors. And yet, we know the real story. Jesus was conquering the world with love. So the question really today is, would you be able to recognize Jesus if you saw him on the street? What kind of miracles would he have to perform for you to believe him? Hasn't he already performed those miracles in your life with answered prayer? So as we go out in the day and the week ahead, please, let's just remember that we are Jesus' light in this world. So as we share our love and our concern for those around us, let us remember God knows who we are. So we should know who we are. Nothing more, nothing less. Have a blessed day. Amen.